I couldn't tell you what day it was when I found her. Might have been a Tuesday. Might have been the ass end of forever. Out here in Apache country, the sun just keeps coming up and going down, and the calendar burns with everything else you used to own. Days don't bother with names anymore. They just spill one into the next, slow and red as whiskey poured into creek water. But I remember her eyes, dark as sin, staring up at me from that bear trap with enough hate to burn down Missouri. Have you ever saved someone's life, only to discover they were the one saving you? That question haunts me still, because on September 15th, 1867, in the Red Rock country of the Dragoon Mountains, 18 miles southeast of Fort Bowie, I made a choice that changed everything. I was tracking a wounded buck through the rocks when I heard it. Breathing. The wrong kind of breathing. The kind that comes when pain's been gnawing on you for hours and you're too stubborn to quit. I found her sprawled between two boulders the color of dried blood. One leg bent wrong where the trap had her. Steel teeth buried deep, chain bolted to a rock half the size of a horse. This wasn't for catching coyotes. This was for catching people. She had a knife in her hand, blood soaking the sand around her leg, and she was deciding whether to kill me or herself first. Her name was Nayland. I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that she was Apache. She was dying, and she looked at me like I was the Reaper himself, riding up on horseback. Maybe that day I was. I'd killed 4 Apache near Fort Bowie during the war, wore a Union Scout uniform, and did things I don't talk about anymore. So when I knelt down beside her and reached for that trap, I figured she'd put that knife through my throat. She didn't. That's when I should have known, should have seen what was coming. But a man who's been dead inside for 4 years doesn't recognize danger when she's bleeding out in front of him. My name is Thomas Garrett. Folks used to call me Ghost, back when I had a reputation worth having. Back when I had a wife named Sarah and a daughter named Lily who laughed like bells on Sunday morning. They died in 1863 while I was off playing hero in a blue coat. Came home to 2 graves and a burned-out house. Found Sarah's last letter half finished on the table. The fever took Lily this morning, she'd written. I can feel it in me now. I don't blame you, Thomas, but I wish you were here. 4 years I'd been trying to outrun that letter. Couldn't do it. The words followed me like a curse. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to that moment, to Nayland in the trap, me kneeling in the sand, and both of us about 5 heartbeats from violence. I kept my hands visible, moved slow. The kind of slow you use around wounded animals that still have teeth. Easy, I said. I'm not here to hurt you. She said something in Apache, sharp, a warning. Her knife hand was shaking, but her eyes were steady. I'd seen men face firing squads with less composure. I knew enough Apache to understand one word: Inda. White man. The trap was stiff, crusted with old blood. Not her blood, someone else's. Someone who'd been caught here before, maybe sold south of the border like livestock. The Janizaros used traps like this. Mexican slavers with Indian blood who made their living stealing Apache women and children. Domestic slaves, they called them. We both knew what they really were. While I worked the mechanism, I thought about riding away, thought about how much easier my life would be if I just left her there. Then I thought about Lily, 6 years old when the plague took her. Same age this woman might have had a child if the world had been different. My hands kept moving. When those jaws opened, she gasped. First real sound of pain she'd made. Blood welled up, fresh from the wound. I wrapped my bandana around her calf, cinched it tight. The bleeding slowed, but didn't stop. She needed clean water, shelter, time. 3 things this territory didn't give freely. "Can you ride?" I asked. She looked at me like I was stupid, probably was, but she let me lift her onto my horse, and that told me something. She was practical enough to accept help from a man she'd probably kill if she had the strength. We rode west toward a spring I knew, her weight heavy against my chest, her blood soaking through my shirt. Behind us, I saw what I'd been afraid of. Fresh tracks. 4 horses, all shod. The men who set that trap were still close. I pushed the horse harder. The cave wasn't much, just an overhang in the red rock at Apache Pass, with enough depth to hide a horse and 2 people. But it had water seeping from a crack in the stone, and, more importantly, it had only one entrance I could watch. Inside, I built a small fire, boiled water from the spring, made coffee because that's what you do when you don't know what else to do. The smell filled the cave, dark and bitter. I offered her a cup. She took it, sniffed it, wrinkled her nose. "Bitter," she said in broken English. I smiled despite everything. "Yeah, but it'll keep you awake." I added a spoonful of honey to her cup. A small thing, but she noticed. She always noticed the small things. She drank, nodded approval, then pointed at my rifle. "You soldier?" "Was. Not anymore." "Why not?" I was quiet for a long moment. Lost too much in the war. Don't want to lose anything else. She nodded like she understood, and then she said 2 words that changed everything. "I know." There was a world of pain in those 2 words, a story I didn't have the right to ask about yet. So I didn't. I just sat there across the fire from her and let the silence be what it was. She pointed at my pack, at something sticking out from the side pocket, a small wooden doll, paint worn off in places. I pulled it out. Lily's doll, the only thing that survived the fire. "My daughter's," I said. "Lily. She was 6 when she passed." Nayland looked at the doll for a long time. Then she looked at me. Something shifted in her eyes. Not pity, understanding. "My husband," she said slowly, working through the English words. "Takoda. Soldiers kill. 2 years ago." I nodded. Didn't ask which soldiers. Didn't matter. The war had taken from both of us, left us both wandering in the aftermath, half alive, and wondering why. We sat like that as the sun moved across the cave mouth. 2 broken people who'd stumbled into each other's path, neither of us knowing yet what it would mean. That's when she looked at her leg, really looked at it. The bandage was already soaking through. She knew what I knew. Infection would set in soon. Out here, that meant death. "You have knife?" she asked. I handed her mine, watching carefully. She held it over the fire, heating the blade. Then she looked at me with those dark eyes and said something that made my blood run cold. "I am medicine woman. I know." Before I could stop her, she cut into her own leg, drained the wound herself, bit down on a piece of leather from her belt, and didn't make a sound, just sweat pouring down her face and her hands steady as a surgeon's. When it was done, I stared at her. "You're brave," I said. She shook her head. "Not brave. Necessary." Then she looked at me with something new in her eyes. Not gratitude exactly. Respect, maybe. Or the beginning of trust. "You not run," she said. You not leave. Why? Because good people don't abandon each other. She studied me for a long moment. Then she pointed at a plant growing near the cave entrance. Small leaves, gray-green in color. This plant, she said. Clean wound, no infection. You get? I went outside, found the plant she meant. Yerba Santa, I'd learn later. Holy herb. I brought it back, and she crushed the leaves, packed them into her wound. Her hands teaching mine how to help. That was the moment, right there, when we stopped being stranger and victim, when we became something else, partners maybe, or the beginning of something I didn't have a name for yet. Night fell. The fire burned low. Nayland sat with her back against the stone wall, watching me across the flames. You good man, she said quietly. I killed Apache in the war. You probably shouldn't say that. She was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. War make all people do bad things. You saved me today. That is who you are now. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe I could be someone new, someone better than the ghost who'd let his family die alone. We didn't talk much after that. Just sat in that comfortable silence that happens sometimes between people who understand pain. The fire crackled. Outside, a coyote called to the moon, and somewhere in the darkness, 4 men were hunting for the woman I'd just saved. I woke before dawn. Something felt wrong. I moved to the cave entrance, careful not to wake Nayland. Looked out at the landscape turning gray in the pre-dawn light. 4 riders, 500 yards out, moving in a search pattern. They had the look of professionals, patient, methodical, not the kind who gave up easy. The leader caught my attention. Even at that distance, I could see the scar across his throat. The stolen cavalry jacket. He sat his horse like a man who'd killed before and would kill again without losing sleep over it. I heard them talking in Spanish, voices carrying in the still morning air. La viuda Apache, the leader said. Ella vale $500. The Apache widow. She's worth $500. One of the others asked a question I couldn't quite catch. The leader laughed, cold as January wind. Entonces matamos al hombre blanco también. Then we kill the white man too. I moved back into the cave. Nayland was awake, watching me. Diego Morales, she whispered when I told her what I'd heard. You know him? She nodded, face going pale even in the dim light. Very bad. He take many women. Sell to Mexico. Has he tried to take you before? 3 times. I escape. This time she gestured at her leg. Trap. So this wasn't random. This was personal. Diego Morales wanted her specifically, wanted her bad enough to set a trap and wait. The stakes were clear now, crystal clear. This wasn't just about saving one woman from slavers. This was about stopping a man who wouldn't quit, a man who'd come back again and again until he got what he wanted. They'll find us if we stay here, I said. We need to get you back to your people. My people far. 15 miles. I cannot walk. Then we wait until dark, ride around them. I'll get you home. She looked at me like I'd just spoken in tongues. You come my people? They not like white man. I saved your life. I'm going to make sure you get home safe. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Why you care? I thought about that question, really thought about it. 4 years I'd been drifting. 4 years of waking up to nothing. And here was this woman, fierce and broken and still fighting, asking me why I cared. "Because," I said slowly, "for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm doing something that matters." She held my gaze. Something passed between us in that moment. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition. Two people who'd lost everything, finding something worth protecting in each other. We waited through the long day, watched Diego and his men search, watched them come within 200 yards of our cave, held our breath until they passed, and when full dark finally came, we rode. Nayland sat in front of me this time, her back against my chest. She knew the land, guided me through narrow passes where the rocks blocked out the stars, between boulders that looked identical to my eyes, but that she could navigate blind. "Go left," she'd whisper. "Between rocks, soldiers patrol main trail." She wasn't just a passenger anymore. She was leading, teaching, showing me her world one careful step at a time. We'd been riding maybe 2 hours when I heard it. Hoofbeats behind us. 2 riders, coming fast. They'd found our trail. "Hold on," I said, and kicked the horse into a gallop. Nayland wrapped her arms around the saddle horn. I could feel her heartbeat against my chest, fast and hard. Behind us, a gun fired. The bullet whined past my shoulder, close enough to feel the wind of it. I turned in the saddle, fired back. The lead rider went down hard. The second one pulled up, deciding that one dead friend was enough for one night. We rode until the mountains swallowed us, until even the stars seemed different overhead. And when we finally crested a rise and looked down into a valley with a thin ribbon of water running through it, Nayland let out a breath I didn't know she'd been holding. "Home," she said. I counted 35 wickiups along the creek. Brush shelters that could be packed up and moved in an hour if soldiers came. Smart. Practical, like everything else about these people. But we didn't get a warm welcome. 8 Apache warriors surrounded us before we'd gone 50 feet. Bows drawn, arrows nocked. Every one of them pointed at my heart. Nayland shouted something in Apache, sharp, commanding. The arrows lowered, but didn't disappear. I dismounted slow, helped Nayland down carefully. Her leg was bleeding again, the ride having torn open what healing had started. A crowd was gathering now. Women, children, old men, all of them staring at the white man who'd brought their medicine woman home. And then the crowd parted. He was old, 64, I'd learn later, but he moved like water over stone, like time hadn't touched the core of him. He wore medicine man markings and carried a rifle that had seen better days. His eyes, when they found mine, were the color of flint. "Red Skywalker," Nayland said quietly. "My father." He looked at her, at me, at her hand resting on my arm for balance, and I watched his face change. Relief first, then anger, then something else, something calculating. He said something in Apache to Nayland. She answered. They went back and forth while I stood there like a fence post, knowing my life was being decided in a language I barely understood. Finally, Red Skywalker turned to me. His English was accented but clear. "You touched my daughter." The way he said it made the hair stand up on my neck. "I treated her wounds," I said carefully. "Nothing else." "You saved her life." "Anyone would have." "No." He shook his head slowly. "Most men would not. Most men would leave her to die, or worse." He studied me like I was a book he was reading. "You healed her wounds. You spent 2 days alone with her. You touched her body, protected her from the slavers, gave her water, kept her warm." He paused, and I felt the trap closing around me just as surely as steel jaws had closed around Naylan. By our law, you have responsibility now. The words didn't register at first. Then they did. You're saying I have to marry her. I am saying you already have. You just don't know it yet. The world tilted. I looked at Naylan. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Not pleading, not angry, just waiting. Red Skywalker continued, relentless as winter. Among our people, when a man saves a widow's life, touches her body to heal her, spends days alone with her, he takes on obligation. He must provide for her, protect her, live with her family. And if I refuse, then you dishonor her, make her untouchable to other men. She becomes burden on family, cannot remarry, loses place in community. His face went hard as the rocks around us. We will not kill you, but you will carry that knowing for rest of your life. Nalin said something sharp in Apache. Red Skywalker raised a hand, silenced her. She is medicine woman, he said to me, healer, carries sacred knowledge. She cannot be left without protection. You understand what those men wanted her for? I understood. Diego Morales and men like him didn't just take Apache women for domestic work. They took them for other things, things I wouldn't say out loud. I looked at Nalin again, really looked at her. This woman who'd cut into her own leg without flinching, who'd guided me through enemy territory with a smile on her face, who'd looked at me across a fire and said, I know when I talked about loss. What do you want? I asked her directly. She was quiet for a long moment. The whole rancheria seemed to hold its breath. What I want does not matter, she said finally. It matters to me. That got a reaction. Her eyes widened. Around us I heard murmurs of surprise. Even Red Skywalker made a small sound that might have been approval. Naylan looked at me, through me, into me. Those men still hunt me, she said carefully. If you marry me, you become target too. They will come for both of us. She paused. Or you can leave. Go back to whatever you were running from. Stay alone. Stay safe. That word, safe, it sat there between us, ugly and tempting. I thought about 4 years of waking up to nothing. 4 years trying to outrun the smell of that burned house. 4 years of being a ghost. I'll stay, I said. The words came out before I'd really decided to say them. But once they were out, I knew they were right. Not because of your law, because I owe her, and because she's right. I have been running, and I'm tired of it. Red Skywalker nodded once, just once. Reason does not matter, action does. You will live with us now, learn our ways, provide for my daughter. He gestured toward a wickiup near the center of the rancheria. That is Naylan's home. Now it is yours too. And just like that, my life changed. Again. For the second time in 4 years. But this time, I wasn't running from something. I was running toward it. The women helped Naylan into the wickiup. I followed, awkward and uncertain. Inside, it was divided by a deerskin partition, guest area on one side, living area on the other, close enough to hear her breathe at night, close enough to lie awake wondering what the hell I'd gotten myself into, close enough to hear her whisper just before sleep took her, "Thank you, Thomas Garrett, for not leaving." "You're welcome," I said to the darkness. And I meant it. The first week passed like a fever dream. I woke each morning to the sound of women grinding corn, children laughing by the creek, men preparing for the hunt. Normal sounds, life continuing, but I was a ghost in their world, tolerated because of what I'd done, not welcomed for who I was. The warriors kept their distance. Can't blame them. I'd worn Union blue, carried a rifle against their people. Some of them had scars that came from men who looked like me. Some of them had lost brothers, fathers, sons to cavalry charges and broken treaties. But the older women watched me with curiosity, especially Mourning Dove. She was 58, Red Skywalker's mother-in-law, with a face like carved mahogany and eyes that missed nothing. She'd appear outside the wickiup each morning with food, cornbread, dried meat. Once, inexplicably, a bowl of something that might have been stew, but tasted like saddle leather soaked in creek water. I ate it anyway. She smiled. On the third day, she said something to Nayland that made Nayland laugh. Actually laugh. First time I'd heard that sound. "What did she say?" I asked. Nayland's eyes danced. "She wants to know if you can cook. Coffee and beans, mostly." Mourning Dove shook her head, said something else in rapid Apache. "Apache men help their wives cook," Nayland translated. "You will need to learn." Wives. The word hung in the air between us like smoke. That afternoon, Nayland taught me to make tortillas. We sat outside the wickiup, a flat stone between us, dough ready to work. Her hands moved with practiced ease, pressing and shaping. Mine fumbled like a drunk trying to thread a needle. "Like this," she said, and put her hands over mine. The moment her skin touched mine, everything stopped, just for a heartbeat, just long enough to feel the warmth of her, the calluses on her palms, the strength in her fingers. She felt it too, I know she did, because she pulled back fast, turned away, and I watched the back of her neck flush red. We worked in silence after that, but it was a different kind of silence, charged, aware. That night, we sat on opposite sides of the fire inside the wickiup. The partition between us might as well have been a wall, but I could hear her breathing, slow and steady, not asleep. "You not have to stay," she said into the darkness. "Law is old. People understand if you go." "I'm not staying because of the law." "Then why?" I thought about how to answer that, how to put into words what I barely understood myself. "Because for 4 years I've just been drifting, no purpose, no reason. And for the first time since I lost everything, I feel like I'm doing something that matters." Silence. Long enough that I thought maybe she wouldn't respond. Then her voice, soft as moth wings. "I feel same. You make me want live again." I closed my eyes, felt something crack open inside my chest, something I thought had died with Sarah and Lily. We didn't say anything else that night, didn't need to. By the end of the first week, I knew 30 words in Apache. Shi'e meant family. Aku meant thank you. Shikis meant my friend. Mourning Dove drilled them into me with the patience of a saint and the discipline of a drill sergeant. She also made me an Apache shirt, deerskin, soft as butter, with beadwork along the shoulders. When she presented it to me on the 7th day, the whole rancheria seemed to be watching. "Now you look like one of us," she said through Nayland's translation. I looked at Nayland. She was smiling, really smiling. And something about that smile made everything worthwhile. But not everyone was smiling. Swift Eagle was 22, lean as a whip, with eyes that burned when he looked at me. His brother, Charging Bear, had died at Fort Bowie, shot in the back while retreating from a cavalry charge in '63. He made sure I knew it. "White man plays Apache," he said on the 8th day, his English harsh and clipped. "Soon he will run when real fight comes." I didn't answer, just looked at him. Direct eye contact, the way Apache warriors showed respect, not aggression. It wasn't what he expected. Red Skywalker intervened before it could escalate. But I knew Swift Eagle wasn't finished with me. Some wounds run too deep for a deerskin shirt to cover. On September 28th, everything changed. I was helping Mourning Dove gather firewood when Swift Eagle came riding in fast. Too fast. His horse was lathered, and his face was tight with controlled fury. Red Skywalker appeared immediately. The whole rancheria went quiet. Swift Eagle spoke in rapid Apache. I caught maybe one word in 5, but I didn't need language to understand the tone. Danger. Coming. Soon. Red Skywalker's face went stone hard. He called for a council. 15 warriors gathered in a circle. "Thomas, too," Red Skywalker said, gesturing to me. I sat, listened, watched. "Diego Morales," Red Skywalker said in English for my benefit, "comes with 10 men, 8 miles south. They will be here in 3 hours. My blood went cold. Naylin was suddenly there, moving through the crowd, despite the pain in her leg. Her face was pale but determined. "We cannot fight here," she said. "Women and children will be in danger." Swift Eagle started to object. Naylin cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Thomas is right. We move women and children to Canyon North. Warriors stay. Defend." She looked at Swift Eagle directly. "You want fight, or you want protect family?" Swift Eagle's jaw clenched. But he nodded, slowly. Respect flickering in his eyes, despite himself. The next 2 hours were organized chaos. 25 women and children packed what they could carry and headed north to a box canyon 2 miles away, defensible, hidden, safe. Naylin started to go with them. I stopped her. "You should go too. Your leg isn't healed." She looked at me like I'd suggested she sprout wings and fly. "I am medicine woman. Warriors need me. I stay." There was no arguing with that voice, so I didn't try. Instead, I helped the 15 Apache warriors prepare an ambush. We positioned ourselves at 3 points around the rancheria entrance. Thomas with 6 warriors on the south ridge, Swift Eagle with 5 to the east, Red Skywalker and 4 others to the west. Crossfire. If Diego rode in, he'd ride into hell. Naylin stayed in the center, medicine supplies ready, face calm. But I could see her hands shaking slightly as she checked her herbs, her bandages, her bone needles for stitching. I wanted to go to her, tell her it would be okay, but that would have been a lie, and she deserved better than lies. They came at 11 in the morning. Diego Morales and 10 Janiceros rode in slow and cautious. They saw the nearly empty rancheria and knew something was wrong. Diego's hand went to his pistol. He was exactly as I remembered from that morning at the cave. Scar across his throat like a second smile. Cold eyes. Stolen cavalry jacket. He sat his horse like a man who owned the world. "I know you here, Apache," he shouted in Spanish, then switched to English. "Give me the widow. I leave peaceful." Red Skywalker stepped out from cover, old, unarmed, proud as a king. "She is under our protection. You leave or you die." Diego laughed. actually laughed. "Old man with 15 warriors? I have Winchester repeaters. You have bows." He wasn't wrong. His men carried new rifles, probably stolen from an army supply wagon. We were outgunned. He knew it. We knew it. That's when I stepped out. Diego's smile vanished like smoke. "You," he hissed. "You the one who killed my man." He was trying to kill me first. I was just defending myself. "You protect Apache whore? You traitor to your race." The words were meant to sting, to provoke. They just made me tired. "I protect innocent people," I said quietly. "You and your men are the criminals here." Diego's face went purple. His hand dropped to his gun. And that's when the miracle happened. Hoofbeats, coming fast from the east, a lot of them. 8 cavalry soldiers crested the rise, led by a man I'd never seen before. 50 years old, maybe, salt and pepper beard, marshal's badge catching the sunlight. "Diego Morales," the man shouted. "You're wanted for human trafficking. Put down your weapons." Diego looked around, saw Apache warriors on the rocks, saw cavalry soldiers blocking his retreat, saw his nice, clean ambush turning into a trap with him at the center. "This not over," he screamed. "I will be back." Then he wheeled his horse and ran, south toward Mexico. His men followed like the cowards they were. The cavalry didn't pursue. The leader dismounted instead, walked toward Red Skywalker with his hands visible and empty. "I'm Marshal James Cooper," he said, "out of Tucson. I've been tracking Diego Morales for 6 months." Red Skywalker studied him, long enough to make most men uncomfortable. Cooper didn't flinch. "You help Apache?" Red Skywalker asked finally. "I help anyone being hunted by slavers," Cooper said. "Don't matter if they're red, white, or purple. Right is right." Red Skywalker nodded once, slow, then gestured toward the rancheria. "You are welcome here, Marshal Cooper." Cooper turned to me next. His eyes were sharp, taking in my Apache clothing, my position among the warriors, everything. "I know you," he said. "Thomas Garrett, scout for the Union. Thought you'd disappeared after the war." "I did. Found something worth staying for." Cooper's eyes flicked to Nayland, who was standing now, watching us. He smiled slightly. "I can see that." He looked back at me. "You know what folks in Tucson are going to say about a white man living with Apache?" "Don't much care what they say." Cooper nodded like I'd passed some kind of test. "Good man," he said. That evening, after the cavalry had made camp a respectful distance away, Cooper told me about Diego Morales. We were sitting by the creek, away from the others. The sun was setting, painting the mountains blood red. "Diego's brother was killed by Apache 3 years back," Cooper said. "Young kid, maybe 19. Carlos was his name. Was herding cattle when a raiding party hit him. They thought he was a soldier in civilian clothes, killed him before they realized their mistake." I felt something twist in my gut. "How do you know it was a mistake?" "Because Red Skywalker told me," Cooper said. "They found out later. Tried to make it right. Offered compensation to the family. Diego refused. Swore revenge instead." "So this isn't about money?" "Oh, the money helps. But no. This is personal. Diego won't stop until someone stops him." The words hung heavy between us. Cooper pulled out a flask, offered it to me. I took a drink. Whiskey. Good whiskey. "Got a woman named Rosa Martinez who runs a cantina in Tucson," Cooper continued. She's willing to testify against Diego. Says she's seen him sell at least 12 Apache women in the last year. If we can bring him in alive, we can hang him legal. If, I said. If, Cooper agreed. We sat in silence for a while, watched the stars come out one by one. You love her? Cooper asked suddenly. I looked at him, startled. The Apache woman, Nayland. You love her? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. Maybe I'm just so tired of being alone that I'm confusing gratitude with something else. Cooper snorted. Son, I've been married 26 years. Let me tell you something. Love isn't some lightning bolt from heaven. It's waking up one morning and realizing you'd rather be miserable with that person than happy with anyone else. He stood up, stretched. You saved her life. Now you're building a life with her. That's more than most people get. He walked back toward his camp, leaving me alone with my thoughts. That night, I couldn't sleep, kept thinking about Diego, about Rosa Martinez willing to testify, about justice versus revenge, about how many more women would suffer if we didn't end this. I was still awake when Nayland spoke from her side of the partition. Thomas? Yeah? You are worried? It wasn't a question. Diego will come back, you know that. Yes. Silence. Then the sound of her moving. The partition shifted. She was there, sitting on my side now, close enough to touch in the firelight. Her leg was nearly healed. The scar would be permanent, but she moved without pain now. I want to tell you something, she said. I waited. When Dakota die, she began slowly, I hold him, watch him bleed, watch light go from his eyes. For 2 years after, I want die too, want follow him. She looked at the fire, not at me. Then those men put me in trap, and I realize I not want die, I want live. But I forget how. She turned to me then, her eyes were wet. You show me how. You make me remember. So whatever come, we face together, yes? I reached out, took her hand. Her fingers were warm, strong, real. Yes, I said. Together. She smiled, squeezed my hand once, then stood and moved back to her side of the partition. But something had changed. We both felt it. The next morning, Swift Eagle found me checking my rifle. Thomas, he said. First time he'd used my name. I looked up. My brother, Charging Bear, he began. His voice was rough. He die at Fort Bowie. Union soldiers shoot him when he run. I know. I'm sorry. Swift Eagle nodded slowly. For a long time, I hate all white men. Hate you when you come. But you fight for Nayland. You fight for us. You are good man. He held out his hand, Apache style, forearm to forearm. I took it. Together we are stronger, I said in Apache. One of the phrases Mourning Dove had taught me. Swift Eagle's face cracked into something that might have been a smile. Your Apache is terrible, he said, but your heart is good. We worked together that day, taught each other things. He showed me how to move silently through brush. I showed him how to estimate distance for a rifle shot. Small things, building blocks of trust. That evening, Nayland and I sat by the creek, away from the others. The stars were coming out, bright and cold. You not have to fight Diego, she said quietly. He want me. I can go with him, save everyone. I turned to her so fast, I almost fell off the rock I was sitting on. No, never, Why you care so much?" The question hung between us like a living thing. I thought about it, really thought. About Sarah and Lily. About 4 years of being dead inside. About this fierce, beautiful, broken woman who'd somehow reminded me what it felt like to be alive. Because for the first time in 4 years, I said slowly, "I feel something, and it's because of you." Nayland's eyes went wide, shining in the starlight. "I feel same," she whispered. "You make me want tomorrow again." I leaned forward, kissed her forehead, gentle, respectful, the way a man kisses something precious. She leaned into me, rested her head on my shoulder. We sat like that until the moon rose, not talking, just being. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their lives and decided maybe, just maybe, there was something worth building. Tomorrow would bring Diego, would bring violence and fear and uncertainty. But tonight, we had this. And for now, that was enough. 3 days passed. 3 days of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Marshal Cooper stayed, said he had business in the area anyway, which we both knew was a polite lie. He was waiting for Diego, same as we were. His 8 cavalry soldiers made camp a 1/4 mile from the rancheria, close enough to help, far enough to not crowd. I spent those days learning, really learning. Morning Dove taught me which plants were medicine and which were poison. The difference, she explained through Nayland's translation, was sometimes just a matter of how much you used. Jimson weed could cure or kill depending on the dose. Desert willow bark brought down fever. Creosote bush cleaned wounds. I watched Nayland work with the sick and injured, watched her mix remedies with the precision of a chemist and the intuition of someone who'd been doing this since childhood. She didn't just treat symptoms. She listened to stories, read faces, understood that sometimes the wound you couldn't see was the one that needed healing most. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. A wagon rolled into the rancheria just after noon, driven by an old man with white hair and a thick German accent. He looked about 68, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed spectacles. Dr. Henry Mueller, he introduced himself, climbing down with the stiffness of age. Marshal Cooper told me there was a medicine woman here who might appreciate some supplies. Red Sky Walker approached slowly, suspicious, but curious. Mueller opened the back of his wagon. Inside were boxes of bandages, bottles of carbolic acid, surgical instruments, quinine powder, a fortune in medical supplies. "I have more than I need in Tucson," Mueller said simply. "And I hear you do good work." Nayland came forward, examined the supplies with expert eyes, looked at Mueller with something like wonder. "Why you help?" she asked. Mueller smiled, sad and warm at the same time. "Because healing has no color, young lady. And because in my country, when I was young, my people were persecuted too. I remember what it feels like when no one helps." He reached into the wagon, pulled out a smaller box. "This is for you specifically. Scalpels, needles, gut for sutures. You are surgeon, yes?" Nayland nodded slowly. "Then you need surgeon's tools." I watched Nayland's eyes fill with tears, watched her take the box like it was made of gold, watched her bow slightly, the Apache way of showing deep respect. "Thank you," she said. Her English was getting better every day. "This means much." Mueller tipped his hat. Then he looked at me. "You must be the famous Thomas Garrett, the white man who married into the Apache. News travels fast." In Tucson, everything travels fast. He studied me. You know what you have done is not an easy thing. There are people who will call you traitor, squaw man, worse. Let them call me what they want. Mueller nodded approvingly. Good, because there are also people who will call you brave, who will see that love and honor have no boundaries. He climbed back into his wagon. I will return in 2 weeks, bring more supplies, and perhaps you come to Tucson sometime, he said to Nayland. I show you new techniques. We learn from each other, yes? Nayland smiled, actually smiled. Yes. After Mueller left, Nayland opened the box of surgical tools. Her hands shook slightly as she touched each instrument. When she looked at me, her eyes were shining. First time white doctor treat me like equal, she said quietly. You are equal. You're better than half the surgeons I saw in the war. She laughed. Small sound, but real. You are biased. Damn right I am. That night we sat closer by the fire, not touching, but close. The partition between our sleeping areas stayed open now. Just a tacit agreement that we'd stopped pretending we were strangers sharing space. Tell me about Sarah, Nayland said suddenly. I stiffened. Hadn't talked about my wife in years. Hadn't let myself. Why? Because she was part of you, part of who you were. I want to know all of you. So I told her. About Sarah's laugh that sounded like wind chimes. About how she could make a garden grow in Missouri clay that killed everything else. About Lily, who wanted to be a doctor when she grew up, who practiced on her dolls with bandages made from torn sheets. About coming home to ashes and graves and that half-finished letter. When I finished, Nayland was quiet for a long time. You carry much guilt, she said finally. But Thomas, you were doing what you thought was right, fighting for freedom. You could not know sickness would come. I should have been there. And if you there, maybe you die too. Maybe all 3 graves. She shook her head. You cannot change past, can only choose what you do now. She reached across the space between us, took my hand. You choose save me. Choose stay. Choose fight for my people. Sarah would be proud of that man. Something broke loose in my chest. Something I'd been holding tight for 4 years. I felt tears on my face and didn't care enough to wipe them away. Nayland moved closer, put her arms around me, let me cry against her shoulder like I was the one who needed healing. We sat like that until the fire burned low, until my tears dried, until I could breathe again without that crushing weight on my chest. Thank you, I said finally. For what? For seeing me, really seeing me. She pulled back just enough to look at my face. Her hand came up, touched my cheek. I see you, Thomas Garrett. I see good man, brave man, man who saves people even when it costs him everything. Then she kissed me, soft, gentle, a question more than a statement. I answered by pulling her closer, by kissing her back with 4 years of loneliness and loss and desperate hope all tangled together. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. I, not ready for, she gestured vaguely, for all things. Not yet. I know, neither am I. But someday? Someday, I agreed. When we're both ready. She smiled, rested her forehead against mine. I like someday, she whispered. We slept that night on opposite sides of the fire still. But something had shifted. A promise had been made. Not of marriage, we were already married in Apache law, but of something deeper, partnership, understanding, maybe even love, though neither of us had said the word yet. The peace lasted 2 more days. On October 1st, just after dawn, one of the scouts came racing back to the rancheria. He spoke rapid Apache to Red Skywalker. I caught enough to make my blood run cold. Diego. Coming. Tonight. Red Skywalker called an emergency council. This time, everyone gathered. Warriors, women, elders. Even the children sat quiet, sensing the gravity. Marshal Cooper joined us. His face was grim. "My scouts confirm it," he said. "Diego and 9 men. They bought 20 pounds of dynamite in Tucson yesterday. They're not planning a raid. They're planning to burn you out." Nayland went pale. Morning Dove put a hand on her shoulder. "We evacuate," Red Skywalker said. "Women, children, elders go to Box Canyon. Now. Warriors stay. We fight." I had an idea. Desperate. Maybe stupid. But an idea. "What if we don't fight?" I said. Every head turned to me. "What if we make it look like we evacuated everyone? Empty the rancheria completely. Set up an ambush 3 ways around the entrance. When Diego comes to burn empty wickiups, we take him." Swift Eagle leaned forward. His English was better than he let on. "You want us hide like rabbits? I want us to fight smart. Diego has dynamite and repeating rifles. A straight fight, people die. Our people. But if we control the battlefield, if we choose when and where, we win." Red Skywalker considered this, long enough that I thought he'd reject it. Then he nodded. "We do this. All people go to Canyon. Warriors stay hidden. We take Diego alive. Marshal Cooper can have his trial." The next 3 hours were organized chaos. 35 wickiups worth of people packing up and moving north. Women carried children. Men carried supplies. The elderly rode horses. Nayland organized the evacuation like a general. Despite her healing leg, she was everywhere, checking that no one was left behind, making sure the sick and injured were transported carefully, ensuring enough food and water made it to the canyon. I watched her with something like awe. This wasn't a victim. This was a leader. When the last group left, she turned to me. "I stay," she announced. "Absolutely not. I am medicine woman. Warriors will need me. It's too dangerous." She stepped close, looked up at me with those dark eyes that could cut through steel. "This, my people, my fight. I not run." I opened my mouth, closed it, knew I'd lost before I'd even started arguing. "Fine, but you stay in the most protected position, with me." She smiled. "Deal." By nightfall, the rancheria looked abandoned. Wickiups empty, fires cold, no movement except the wind. But hidden in the rocks and brush were 27 men, 15 Apache warriors, 8 cavalry soldiers, Marshal Cooper, Swift Eagle, Red Skywalker, and me. Nayland crouched behind a boulder next to me, her medicine supplies spread out and ready. Her face was calm, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. We waited. The moon was dark, new moon, perfect night for an attack, perfect night for an ambush. They came at 11. 9 horses moving slow through the darkness. I could just make out Diego at the front, that scar across his throat, visible even in starlight. They rode into the center of the rancheria, stopped, looked around at the empty wickiups. "Es una trampa," one of them said. "It's a trap." Diego laughed, harsh and bitter. "No importa. We burn it anyway. burn everything. They come back to ashes. His men dismounted, started pulling out dynamite, preparing to light fuses. That's when Marshal Cooper stood up, 50 yards away, rifle aimed. "Diego Morales, drop your weapons. You're under arrest." Diego spun, saw Cooper, saw the rifles appearing from 3 directions, saw the trap closing. His face went through a dozen emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, rage, fear, then cold calculation. He pulled his pistol, fired at Cooper, missed, and all hell broke loose. Swift Eagle's arrow took one Janicero in the throat. Silent, precise. The man dropped without a sound. Cavalry rifles barked. 2 more men fell. Diego and his remaining men ran for their horses, but we'd positioned ourselves to cut off that escape route. Thomas and 6 warriors blocked the south. They had to go east, into the rocks, into the darkness. "Diego!" I shouted. "There's nowhere to run!" He turned, saw me, his face twisted with hate. "You!" he fired. The bullet caught me in the left shoulder. Spinning impact. Pain like fire. I went down hard. Nayland screamed, started to run to me. "Stay down!" I yelled. But she didn't listen. She never listened when someone needed help. She reached me just as Swift Eagle appeared, covering us, putting himself between us and Diego's retreating form. Diego and 4 surviving Janiceros disappeared into the night, running east, wounded, desperate, but alive. "How bad?" Nayland demanded, ripping open my shirt. "I've had worse." That was a lie. The bullet had gone clean through, but it felt like someone had shoved a red-hot poker through my shoulder. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, packing the wound, applying pressure. Her face was pale but steady. "You fool," she muttered. "Why you chase him?" "Couldn't let him get away." She looked at me. Her eyes were wet. "You not allowed die. I not let you." I managed a weak smile. Wasn't planning on it. Still have to marry you properly. She laughed, cried, kept working. "You already marry me. Apache law, remember?" "Yeah, but I'm thinking we should do it the white way, too. Make it official." She stared at me. Then she kissed me. Hard, desperate, like she was trying to keep me alive through sheer force of will. When she pulled back, she was smiling through tears. "Okay, we marry both ways. But first, you not die." "Deal," I said. Then I passed out. I woke up 2 days later in Doc Mueller's clinic in Tucson. Apparently, Marshal Cooper had loaded me into a wagon and brought me to the only doctor he trusted. Mueller had removed bone fragments, cleaned the wound, stitched me up with expert precision, and Nayland had never left my side. She was there when I opened my eyes, sitting in a chair next to the bed, her hand wrapped around mine, her head resting on the mattress, asleep. She looked exhausted, beautiful, fierce even in sleep. I squeezed her hand gently. She woke instantly. Her eyes found mine, went wide. "Thomas!" "Hey," I managed. My voice was rough as sandpaper. She was crying again, smiling and crying at the same time. "You sleep 2 days. I think maybe you not wake up." "Takes more than a bullet to kill me." She laughed, kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my lips. "Don't ever do that again," she whispered against my mouth. "Can't promise that, but I'll try." The door opened. Doc Mueller came in, followed by Marshal Cooper and, surprisingly, a man in priest's robes. "Ah, you're awake," Mueller said. "Good. You heal fast for old man." I'm 35. Like I said, old man. He checked my bandages with gentle hands. You were lucky. Quarter inch to the right, hits artery. You bleed out before anyone reaches you. But I didn't. No, you did not. He looked at Naylan. She made sure of that. Best field medicine I've seen in years. Naylan blushed. The priest stepped forward. He was maybe 59, with kind eyes and an Irish accent. Father Patrick O'Malley, he introduced himself. Marshal Cooper tells me you and this young lady wish to be married. I looked at Naylan. She looked at me. We both smiled. Yes, I said, if she'll still have me. Always, she said. Father O'Malley nodded. Then we do this properly, in eyes of church and law. Make sure no one can question. He looked at Naylan directly. You understand, child, that many people will judge you for this. White and Apache both. I understand, Naylan said clearly. But I choose Thomas. I choose love over fear. O'Malley smiled. Then God's blessings on you both. Marshal Cooper cleared his throat. There's something else you should know. Diego got away that night. But I've got warrants out from here to the border. Rosa Martinez is willing to testify. So are 3 other women he hurt. If we catch him, he hangs. When, I corrected. When we catch him. Cooper nodded. When? That evening, Father O'Malley married us in Doc Mueller's clinic. It wasn't fancy. No flowers, no guests except Mueller, Cooper, and a cavalry lieutenant who served as witness. But when Naylan said, I do, in careful English, and when I slipped a simple silver band on her finger that Mueller had somehow procured, it felt more real than anything had felt in years. You may kiss your bride, O'Malley said. I did, tender and slow and full of promise. When we broke apart, Naylan was smiling. Now you really stuck with me, she said. Wouldn't have it any other way. That night we stayed in a room above the clinic, alone for the first time as husband and wife in both cultures. We didn't make love. I was too injured. We just lay together in the narrow bed, her head on my good shoulder, my arm around her waist. Are you happy? I asked into the darkness. I am, she said. Scared, but happy. Me too. She shifted to look at me. What happens now? Now we go home, back to the rancheria. We build a life together. And when Diego comes back, because he will come back, we face him together. Together, she agreed. Always together. Outside, Tucson was quiet. Inside, we were finally, truly at peace. The fight wasn't over. Diego was still out there, still dangerous, still sworn to revenge. But for tonight, we had this moment, this promise, this beginning. And it was enough. I spent a week healing in Tucson, a week that changed everything. Doc Mueller's clinic was on the edge of town, close enough to civilization to be useful, far enough from the saloons and gambling halls to be peaceful. From the window of our small room, I could see the desert stretching south toward Mexico. Somewhere out there, Diego Morales was licking his wounds and planning his next move. But I wasn't thinking about Diego that first week. I was thinking about the woman sleeping beside me each night. The way she whispered my name in her sleep. The way her hand sought mine, even when she was dreaming. We were learning each other, slowly, carefully. 2 people who'd been broken, trying to figure out how to be whole together. On the 3rd day, something happened that I didn't expect. A knock on the door. Naylan answered it. A Mexican woman stood there, maybe 35, with sharp eyes and hands that wouldn't stop moving. She wore a practical dress, an apron, and carried herself like someone who'd seen too much and survived anyway. "Rosa Martinez," she said. "Marshal Cooper told me you were here." Nayland stepped back, letting her in. Rosa looked at me in the bed, at my bandaged shoulder, at Nayland's protective stance. She smiled slightly. "So you are the man who married the Apache medicine woman. Tucson talks of nothing else." "Let them talk," I said. Rosa nodded approvingly. "Good answer." She sat down without being invited. "I like you already." She pulled out a small notebook, worn, stained, filled with writing. "I keep records," she said. "Every woman Diego Morales brings through Tucson. Every sale. Every time I see him with someone who wasn't there by choice." "Why?" Nayland asked. "Because someone has to remember. Someone has to bear witness." Rosa opened the notebook, started reading names. Maria Gonzalez, 16 years old, sold to a ranch near Hermosillo, crying the whole way. Aita, no last name. Apache, maybe 20. Fought so hard they broke her arm before they got her in the wagon. She went on and on. 12 names in all. 12 women stolen. 12 lives destroyed. By the time she finished, Nayland was crying silently. I felt sick. "I will testify against him," Rosa said. "In open court. I will tell everyone what I have seen. But I need you both to testify too." "Us?" I asked. "You are the ones who escaped. You are the ones who fought back." She looked at Nayland. "You especially." Apache woman, married to white man, speaking in court. It would be powerful. Nayland wiped her eyes. "What if he comes for me again?" "Then we protect you," Rosa said simply. "All of us. Together." The word hung in the air. Together. It was becoming a theme in our lives. On the 5th day, Doc Mueller brought visitors. They came in one by one. First, a shopkeeper named Henry Williams. Then a schoolteacher, Miss Sarah Burton. Then a blacksmith named Jacob Stone. Then others. 8 people in all, ordinary citizens of Tucson. "We heard what you did," Williams said to me. "Heard you saved an Apache woman, married her, stood up to Diego Morales." He shifted awkwardly. "Some folks think you're crazy, but some of us think you're brave. And we wanted you to know that if you need anything, if she needs anything, you've got friends here." Miss Burton stepped forward. She was maybe 40, with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "I taught school for 20 years, she said, "and I've learned that courage comes in many forms. What you two have," she looked at Nayland, "that's courage. Don't let anyone tell you different." Nayland was staring at them all like they'd sprouted wings. "Why you help?" she asked. "Because it's right," Jacob the blacksmith said. "Simple as that." After they left, Nayland sat on the edge of the bed, silent, processing. "I never think white people would help," she said finally. "Most won't, but some will, and that's enough to build on." She looked at me, really looked at me. "You changed my world, Thomas Garrett. You changed mine first." By the 7th day, I could move my arm without wanting to scream. Mueller said I could travel, so we made plans to return to the rancheria. But first, Marshal Cooper had news. He came to the clinic at sunset. His face was grim. "Diego's been spotted," he said, without preamble. 20 miles south, near the old San Javier mission. He's got 4 men left, and according to my scouts, he's planning something." "What kind of something?" I asked. "The bad kind." Cooper sat down heavily. He sent a message to the rancheria. Said, if you don't turn yourself over, Nayland, he'll start raiding Apache settlements, killing families, burning villages. He's gone from slaver to terrorist. Nayland's face went pale. I will go, she said immediately. I will trade myself for peace. No, I said. She turned to me. This not your choice. Like hell it isn't. We're married. What affects you affects me. Marshal Cooper held up a hand. Nobody's trading anyone. We're going to end this. Legal. With a trial and a hanging. But we need to draw him out first. How? I asked. He looked at both of us. With you two as bait. The plan was simple, dangerous, probably stupid, but it might work. Cooper would spread word that Nayland and I were traveling back to the rancheria, slow, visible, tempting target. Diego would see his chance for revenge and take it. But what Diego wouldn't know was that we'd have 20 cavalry soldiers hidden along the route, plus Swift Eagle and 10 Apache warriors, an entire army hidden in the rocks, waiting. When Diego attacked, we'd take him alive. You're using us as bait, I said. I'm using your visibility as an advantage, Cooper corrected. There's a difference. Not much of one. He shrugged. It's the best plan we've got, unless you want to wait for Diego to massacre a village full of innocent people to get your attention. He had a point. Nayland squeezed my hand. We do this, she said, together, always together. We left Tucson on October 8th, mid-morning, riding slow like Cooper suggested. Nayland sat in front of me on the horse, my good arm around her waist. We looked like an easy target. One wounded man, one woman, one horse. Vulnerable. Tempting. But hidden in the rocks on both sides of the trail were 30 men with rifles, waiting, watching. The first day passed without incident. We camped at the spot Cooper had chosen. High ground, good visibility, hard to approach without being seen. Swift Eagle appeared just after sunset, moving like smoke through the shadows. No sign yet, he reported, but they are out there. I feel them. So did I. That prickly feeling on the back of your neck that says you're being watched. Nayland built a small fire, made coffee. We sat close, talking quietly. You scared? I asked. Yes, but also angry. She looked at the fire. Diego destroys so many lives, takes so many women. When does it end? Tomorrow, I said. One way or another, it ends tomorrow. She leaned against me. I wrapped my arm around her. If something happens to me, she started, nothing's going to happen to you. But if it does, promise me something, anything. Tell my people I died fighting. Tell them I was brave. I kissed the top of her head. You are brave. Bravest person I've ever met. We sat like that until the fire died, until the stars came out bright and cold overhead. And somewhere in the darkness, Diego Morales was making his plans. They came at dawn. I heard them before I saw them. Horses, moving fast, coming from the south. 4 riders, Diego at the front, that scar across his throat catching the early light. They stopped 50 yards away, just sat their horses looking at our camp. I stood slowly, positioned myself between Diego and Nayland. Diego, I called, this doesn't have to end in blood. He laughed, that same cold laugh I'd heard in the rancheria. You took everything from me, white man. My business, my reputation. You turned my own people against me. You did that yourself, by hurting innocent people. Innocent, he spat. The Apache killed my brother, murdered him like an animal. That's when Nayland stepped around me, faced Diego directly. Your brother was killed by mistake, she called. Warriors thought he was soldier. When we learn truth, we try make it right. We offer compensation. You refuse. Diego's face went purple. Lies. Apache lies. Father O'Malley told us, Nayland continued. Her voice was steady, clear. He knew your brother. Carlos was good man. He would not want this revenge. Don't you speak his name! Diego's hand went to his gun. That's when Marshal Cooper stood up from behind a rock, 30 yards to Diego's left. Diego Morales, you're surrounded. Put down your weapons. Diego looked around, saw rifles appearing from the rocks. 20 cavalry soldiers, 10 Apache warriors, all with a clear shot. His face went through a series of emotions: rage, fear, desperation. Then something like resignation. He lowered his gun slowly. His men did the same. We had him. But Diego Morales didn't become the most successful slaver on the border by being stupid. He had one more card to play. I surrender, he said. His voice was calm now, reasonable. To Marshal Cooper, to the law, not to savages. Cooper started walking toward him, handcuffs ready. That's when Diego moved. Fast. Faster than a man his age should move. He grabbed a rifle from his saddle, swung it toward Nayland. Time slowed down. I saw Diego's finger on the trigger, saw Nayland standing there, exposed, vulnerable, saw my whole future about to disappear in gun smoke. I threw myself at her, knocked her down, felt the bullet pass over our heads, so close I swear I felt the heat of it. Then Swift Eagle's arrow took Diego in the shoulder. The rifle fell from his hands. Cavalry soldiers swarmed him, dragged him from his horse, cuffed his hands behind his back despite his screaming. I helped Nayland up, checked her over. No injuries, just scared. You okay? I asked. Yes. You? I nodded, couldn't speak yet. Too close. That had been too damn close. Diego was on his knees now, blood running down his arm from the arrow wound. But his eyes were still full of hate. This isn't over, he hissed at Nayland. I have friends. They'll finish what I started. No, a new voice said. Everyone turned. Rosa Martinez stepped out from behind one of the cavalry horses. She'd been there the whole time. Cooper's secret witness. Your friends are arrested, Diego. Miguel, Santos, Juan, all of them. She walked toward him, fearless. I testified against them all, showed the law my records. They will hang with you. Diego's face crumbled. For the first time I saw real fear in his eyes. Rosa looked down at him. Her face was hard, unforgiving. 12 women, Diego. 12 lives you destroyed for money and revenge. Now you face justice. She turned to Nayland. And this woman, she gestured at Nayland, speaks for all of them. In court. In public. The whole territory will hear what you did. Nayland stepped forward, looked down at the man who'd haunted her nightmares for years. I forgive you, she said quietly. Everyone stared at her, including Diego. What? He whispered. You hear me. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, because I deserve peace. She paused. But forgiveness not mean no justice. You will answer for what you did, in court, in front of everyone. Your victims will speak. Truth will be known." She turned away from him, walked to me, took my hand. "We finished here," she said. And we were. Marshal Cooper took Diego and his men back to Tucson in chains. The trial was set for 2 weeks later. Public trial in the town square, where everyone could see justice being done. Rosa promised to be there with her records. Father O'Malley promised to testify about Carlos, about Diego's refusal of Apache attempts at reconciliation. Doc Muller promised to present medical evidence from the women Diego had hurt. And Nayland promised to speak, to tell her story, to speak for the 12 whose names Rosa had written down. We rode back to the rancheria slowly. No need to rush now. Swift Eagle rode beside us for a while. "You fought well," he said to me, "like Apache warrior." High praise coming from him. I had good teachers. He smiled, small, but real. "When we go Tucson for trial, I come too. We stand with Nayland. Show whites that Apache are civilized people, that we want justice, not revenge." I nodded. That would mean a lot. He rode ahead, scouting. But for the first time, it felt like friendship rather than duty. That evening we made camp near the same creek where Nayland had taught me to make tortillas. Seemed like a lifetime ago. It was only 3 weeks. We sat by the fire, her head on my shoulder, my arm around her waist. "You were brave today," I said, "facing Diego like that." I was terrified. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing it anyway. She tilted her head to look at me. "Where you learn that?" "From you." She smiled, kissed me softly. "We should go back Tucson for trial," she said. "Together. Show everyone we not afraid. The whole rancheria should come. Make it a statement." She considered this. Yes. Red Skywalker would like that. Show unity. Show strength. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the fire, listening to the night sounds. "Thomas," she said eventually. "Yeah?" "After trial, after Diego is judged, can we start real life?" "We already have." "No, I mean," she hesitated, searching for words. "I mean us. Really us. No more sleeping with fire between us. No more fear. Just you and me, building future." I pulled her closer. "I'd like that. I'd like that very much." "When I am ready," she added quickly. "Not yet, but soon." "Whenever you're ready, I can wait." She kissed me again, longer this time, deeper, a promise of things to come. "Thank you," she whispered against my lips, "for being patient, for seeing me, for choosing me." "Always," I said, "always you." We rode into the rancheria the next day to a hero's welcome. Red Skywalker met us at the entrance. His face was stern, as always, but I saw approval in his eyes. "You brought justice without revenge," he said to Nayland. "You honored our people and the white man's law. You bring pride to our family." Nayland dismounted, hugged her father. I'd never seen them embrace before. It was brief, awkward, but real. Mourning Dove appeared, threw her arms around both of us. "My children safe!" she cried in Apache. "My fierce daughter and stubborn son!" The whole rancheria gathered, men, women, children, all wanting to hear the story. Nayland told it, in Apache and English both. Told them about Rosa and her records, about Father O'Malley's testimony, about the citizens of Tucson who'd offered support, about Diego on his knees, defeated not by violence, but by truth. When she finished, Red Skywalker stood. "We go to Tucson," he announced, "for trial. 20 warriors, 20 women, all who can travel. We show whites that Apache people are civilized, that we believe in justice." There was murmuring, some worried. Tucson wasn't safe for Apache. Too many soldiers, too many memories. But Swift Eagle stood. "I will go," he said, "to support Nayland, to show that we are not savages, but people who want peace." One by one, others stood, committing, choosing courage over fear. By the time the sun set, 25 people had volunteered. The trial was set for October 22nd, 2 weeks away. We spent that time preparing. Nayland practiced her testimony with me, over and over, until the English words came smooth, until she could talk about her capture, her escape, Diego's pursuit, without her voice shaking. I watched her grow stronger each day, watched her transform from victim to survivor to something more: advocate, leader, voice for those who had none. On October 20th, we left for Tucson. 25 Apache traveling openly, Red Skywalker at the front, Nayland and me riding together, Swift Eagle and Mourning Dove, and all the others who'd chosen to stand with us. We made camp outside Tucson. Marshal Cooper met us there. "You sure about this?" he asked Nayland. "Once you testify, there's no going back. Everyone will know your name, your face." "Good," Nayland said. "Let them know. Let them know Apache woman is not afraid." Cooper smiled, nodded. "Then let's make history." The trial started at 10 in the morning on October 22nd. The town square was packed, hundreds of people. White, Mexican, even some Apache who'd snuck in from other bands to watch. Diego sat in chains. His face was hard, angry, but underneath, I saw fear. The judge was a stern man named Harrison. White beard, cold eyes, reputation for fairness. He called Rosa Martinez first. She stood, walked to the witness stand, opened her notebook, and she read. Every name, every detail, every horror she'd witnessed. The crowd went silent, absolutely silent. When she finished, there were tears on faces throughout the square. Even some of the hard men looked shaken. Doc Mueller testified next, presented medical evidence, described injuries he'd treated, made it clinical, professional, devastating. Father O'Malley spoke about Carlos, about Diego's refusal to accept Apache attempts at reconciliation, about how grief had twisted into hate. And then the judge called Nayland. She stood, smoothed her dress. Doc Mueller's wife had given her a proper dress for the occasion, simple, modest, but dignified. She walked to the stand with her head high. "State your name," the judge said. "Nayland, wife of Thomas Garrett, medicine woman of the Chiricahua Apache." The judge nodded. "Tell us what happened." She did. She told them about the trap, about the pain, about lying there for hours, deciding whether to die, about me finding her, about Diego's pursuit, about his threats, about the 12 women whose names Rosa had read. Her English was careful, precise, every word chosen with care. But it was her eyes that got them. Those dark eyes that had seen too much suffering and still chose hope, still chose to believe in justice. When she finished, the square was silent except for the sound of women crying. Diego's lawyer tried to cross-examine her, tried to make her seem like a savage, tried to suggest she was lying. She met every question with calm truth, never raised her voice, never got angry, just stated facts with the precision of the healer she was. The jury deliberated for 20 minutes, guilty on all counts. The judge looked at Diego. "You will hang 3 days hence. May God have mercy on your soul." Diego screamed, cursed, fought against his chains, had to be dragged from the courtroom. But it was over. Justice. Legal, public, witnessed by hundreds. Naylan walked back to where I stood, took my hand. "It is done," she said. "Yes, I feel light," she said, "like I can breathe for a first time in years." "That's freedom," I told her. She smiled, leaned against me. Around us, people were coming up, shaking our hands, thanking Naylan for her bravery. Apache and white, both. Unity through shared outrage at injustice. Rosa Martinez hugged Naylan. "You did it," she whispered. "You spoke for all of us." Father O'Malley blessed us both. "May your marriage be long and your love strong." Even the judge approached, nodded respectfully to Naylan. "You gave the bravest testimony I've heard in 30 years on the bench," he said. "Your people should be proud." "Thank you," Naylan said. "Now we go home. Build life together." We left Tucson the next morning. Didn't stay for the hanging. Didn't need to. Justice had been served. The ride back to the rancheria was different. Lighter. Like a weight had been lifted from all of us. That night, we camped under the stars, the whole group together, telling stories, laughing, celebrating. Naylan and I sat apart from the others, close to the fire, but in our own world. "What now?" she asked. "Now we live," I said. "Really live." She looked at me. Her eyes were soft, open. "I am ready," she whispered. "For what?" "For us. For everything." I kissed her, soft and slow and full of promise. When we broke apart, she was smiling. "Take me home, Thomas Garrett." "I am home," I said. "Wherever you are, that's home." She laughed, that beautiful sound I'd first heard weeks ago and had fallen in love with. "Then let us go home together." And we did. We reached the rancheria 3 days after the trial, October 25th. The aspens were turning gold in the high country, and the air had that sharp quality that comes before winter. The whole village turned out to greet us, not just our traveling party, but everyone who'd stayed behind. Children ran alongside our horses. Women ululated in the Apache way of celebration. Even the warriors who'd been most suspicious of me nodded with something approaching respect. Red Skywalker called a feast that night, not a celebration of violence or revenge, a celebration of justice, of courage, of one woman standing up and speaking truth in a language not her own, in a place that had not always been kind to her people. Morning Dove roasted 3 deer. The women made enough cornbread to feed an army. There was laughter, music, stories told around fires that burned bright against the autumn darkness. I sat with Naylan at the edge of the gathering, close enough to be part of the celebration, far enough to have our own small island of peace. "You changed something today," I told her. "Not just for you, for everyone. You showed them that Apache and white can work together, can find justice without war." She shook her head. "We showed them, you and me together." She was right. It had been both of us. 2 broken people from 2 different worlds who'd somehow found a way to build a bridge between them. Swift Eagle approached. He carried 2 cups of tisween, the Apache corn beer, handed one to each of us. "To Nayland," he said, "bravest warrior I know, and to Thomas, who proved that honor has no color." We drank. The tiswin was strong, bitter, good. Swift Eagle sat down beside us. "I have been thinking," he said, "about my brother, about the hate I carried." We listened. "Carrying hate is like carrying hot coal," he continued. "You the one who gets burned. Today, I put down that coal. I choose to remember Charging Bear with love, not anger." He looked at me directly. "You are my brother now, not by blood, but by choice, by honor." I felt my throat tighten. "Brother," I said. The word came out rough. "I would be honored." We clasped forearms, Apache style, binding. When Swift Eagle left, Nayland leaned against me. "You have family now," she said softly. "Real family. So do you. I always have family." She smiled. "But now I have you too. And that is different. Better." The feast went on until late, until children fell asleep in their mother's arms, until old men's stories grew longer and less coherent, until the fires burned down to embers. Nayland and I walked back to our wickiup, hand in hand. The night was cold, clear, stars so bright they seemed close enough to touch. Inside, someone had built up the fire, laid out fresh sleeping furs, left a basket of food and a jug of water. Small kindnesses from a community that had accepted us. Nayland stood in the center of the wickiup. The firelight caught the edges of her face, her hair, the curve of her neck. She was beautiful, had always been beautiful. But tonight there was something different, a peace, a settledness. She looked at me. Her eyes were dark and deep, and full of something I couldn't name. "The partition," she said quietly. "We do not need it anymore." "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I am sure. I am ready. For all of it. For us." I crossed to her, slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But she didn't step back, didn't hesitate. I cupped her face in my hands, looked into those eyes that had first stared at me with hate from a bear trap, and now looked at me with something far different. "I love you," I said. The words had been building for weeks, finally spilled out. "I love you, Nayland. Everything you are, everything you've been, everything you're becoming." Her eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, Thomas Garrett. You saved my life. Then you give me reason to live it." I kissed her then, not gentle like before, deeper, urgent. 4 years of loneliness and loss pouring out. 4 years of being dead inside, finally ending. She kissed me back with equal hunger. Her hands found my face, my shoulders, my chest, learning me through touch. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "I do not know how to do this," she whispered, "with someone who is not Dakota." I knelt down so we were eye level. Then we learned together, like everything else. I kissed her shoulder where her dress had slipped, felt her shiver, ran my hand down her arm, feeling the strength there, the scars, the life she'd lived. She was breathing faster now. Her eyes were wide, dark, full of trust. "Promise me something," she said. "Anything." "Do not leave. No matter what comes, do not leave." I pulled her close, kissed her forehead, her temple, her lips. "I promise. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me now." She laughed, soft, breathless. "Good, because I'm not letting you go." What came after belongs to us alone, to the privacy of that wickiup, to the fire that burned low as we learned each other, to the promises whispered in darkness, to two people who'd survived more than most and somehow found each other in the wreckage. I woke to the smell of cornbread cooking. Naylin was already up, moving around the wickiup with quiet efficiency. She wore a simple dress. Her hair was loose, falling past her shoulders. She was humming an Apache song I didn't know. She saw me watching, smiled. "You talk in your sleep," she said. "Oh no. What did I say? Nothing bad. Just my name, over and over." She brought me food, sat beside me. "That is new for you," she said. "What is?" "Saying my name in sleep. Before, you say other names, Sarah, Lily, but last night, just mine." I took her hand. "Because you're my present, my future. They were my past, and I'll always love them, but you're my now." She kissed me, sweet, brief. "Good answer." We spent the next week settling into our new life, really settling, not just existing side by side, but building something together. Naleen taught me more medicine. I was never going to be as skilled as her, but I could assist, could hand her the right herb without being asked, could hold a patient still while she stitched, could be her partner in healing the way we were partners in everything else. I taught her more English. She was already better than me at Apache, but her English vocabulary was expanding daily. We read together from the one book I owned, a battered copy of Shakespeare's sonnets that had somehow survived the war. She loved the rhythm of the words, even when she didn't understand them all. "Read the one about love again," she'd say, "the one with summer day." "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" I'd read. "Thou art more lovely and more temperate." "I like that one," she'd smile. "Read more." And I would, until the fire burned low and her head grew heavy on my shoulder, and we'd drift to sleep, tangled together. On November 1st, Red Skywalker called another council. "Winter comes," he said. "We must prepare, hunt, store food, make sure all wickiups are strong." But there was something else in his voice, something uncertain. "I have been thinking," he continued, "about what Naylin did in Tucson, about the whites who helped us, about Marshall Cooper and Doc Mueller and Rosa and the others." He paused. "Maybe it is time to try peace, real peace, not just absence of war, but friendship, trade, understanding." There was murmuring, some agreeing, some skeptical. "The army still hunts us," one warrior said, "still moves us from our land." "Yes," Red Skywalker acknowledged, "but not all whites are army. Some are good people. We saw this." He looked at me. "Thomas is proof. He could have left Naylin to die, could have taken her and abandoned her, could have used our law to his advantage and then run. But he stayed. He fought for us. He married my daughter with honor." The council was silent. "I propose we send delegation to Tucson," Red Skywalker said. "Talk to Marshall Cooper. Talk to Judge. See if we can make agreement. Apaches stay in these mountains. Whites leave us in peace. We trade. We help each other." It was radical, dangerous, could go wrong in 100 ways. But it was also hope. Real hope for something better than endless conflict. "I will go," Swift Eagle said immediately. "And I," Morning Dove added. One by one, others volunteered, until there were 10 willing to make the journey. "Nayland and I will go too," I said, "if Red Skywalker permits." The old medicine man looked at his daughter, at me, nodded slowly. "You have become bridge between our peoples. It is right that you help build this peace." We left for Tucson on November 5th, 10 Apache, me, traveling openly in daylight. Not raiders, not fugitives, ambassadors. It felt impossible, felt like we were walking into a trap, but we went anyway. Marshal Cooper met us outside town. His face was cautious, but not unfriendly. "This is unexpected," he said. Red Skywalker explained, in careful English, about wanting peace, about being willing to negotiate, about hoping for a future where Apache and white could coexist. Cooper listened, really listened. When Red Skywalker finished, Cooper was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I'll arrange a meeting with the judge, with the town council. Can't promise anything, but I can promise you'll be heard." "That is all we ask," Red Skywalker said. The meeting happened 2 days later, in the courthouse, the same building where Diego had been sentenced. 20 townspeople showed up, some curious, some hostile, some hopeful. Judge Harrison presided. His face was stern, as always, but his eyes were kind. "Speak," he said to Red Skywalker. "We will listen." Red Skywalker stood, spoke with the gravity of his position. Medicine man, elder, father. He talked about the long war, about the pain on both sides, about children growing up knowing only fear and violence, about wanting something different for the next generation. "We do not ask for much," he said, "just to be left in peace in our mountains. We will not raid. We will not steal. We will trade fairly. We will help settlers who are lost or hurt." He paused. "In return, we ask that army not hunt us, that settlers not take our land, that we be treated as people, not animals." The silence in that courtroom was absolute. Then Judge Harrison spoke. "What you ask is reasonable, but I cannot speak for the army. That is beyond my authority. But," he continued, "I can speak for this town, and I say this. Any Apache who comes in peace will be treated with peace. Any Apache who trades fairly will be traded with fairly. And any settler who harms an Apache without cause will face the law." He looked around the courtroom. "Does this council agree?" One by one, the townspeople nodded. Not all of them happily, but they nodded. Doc Mueller stood. "I will treat Apache patients," he said, "same as white, no difference." Rosa Martinez stood. "My cantina will serve Apache," she said, "with same respect as anyone." Others stood, made promises, small ones, but real. When it was done, Judge Harrison looked at Red Skywalker. "This is a beginning," he said, "only a beginning. There will be problems, misunderstandings, maybe violence. But if both sides choose peace first and war last, maybe we can build something." Red Skywalker nodded. "We choose peace, but we will defend ourselves if attacked, as is your right," Harrison agreed. They shook hands. Apache medicine man and white judge, in front of witnesses from both peoples. It wasn't a treaty. The army would have to agree to that, and the army was far away and unconcerned with the opinions of one frontier judge. But it was something, a start. We stayed in Tucson one more day, long enough for Red Skywalker to meet with Doc Mueller and discuss medical knowledge, for Swift Eagle to trade furs for ammunition at a fair price, for Mourning Dove to buy fabric and needles and make friends with the shopkeeper's wife, and for Nayland and me to visit Father O'Malley. We found him in the small church. He was sweeping, looked up when we entered, smiled. The famous couple returns. "We have a favor to ask," Nayland said. Her English was nearly perfect now. "Anything?" "We want you bless our union. Apache way, we already married. White way, we already married. But in God's eyes, with church blessing, we want that too." O'Malley set down his broom, looked at us with those kind Irish eyes. "You want a proper Catholic wedding?" "Yes," Nayland said, "if you allow." "Allow? My dear child, I would be honored." He married us again that afternoon, just the three of us in the empty church. No guests, no flowers, just candlelight and old wood and words that had been spoken in that same way for 1,000 years. "Do you, Thomas Garrett, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, till death do you part?" "I do." My voice was steady. "Sure." "Do you, Nayland, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, till death do you part?" "I do." Her voice was soft but clear. "Then, by the power vested in me by the Holy Catholic Church, I pronounce you husband and wife." Again, he smiled. "You may kiss your bride." Again. I did. Softly, reverently, in that small church that smelled of incense and candle wax and hope. When we broke apart, O'Malley blessed us both, made the sign of the cross over our heads. "Go with God," he said. "Build your life together. Raise your children in love and faith and understanding. Be a light in dark times." "We will try," Nayland said. "That is all any of us can do." We left Tucson the next morning, all of us, our small delegation returning home with news of peace. The journey back was lighter, easier. We'd done something impossible and succeeded. Not perfectly, but enough. Nayland rode beside me, our horses close, our hands touching occasionally. "Do you think it will last?" she asked. "The peace? I don't know. Probably not. There's too much history, too much pain. But maybe it will last long enough for people to remember what peace feels like, long enough to want it again when it breaks." "That is good enough," she said. "For now." We reached the rancheria on November 10th. The whole village gathered to hear Red Skywalker's report. He told them everything, about the meeting, about Judge Harrison's promises, about the townspeople standing up, about the beginning of something new. Some were skeptical, some were hopeful. All were willing to try. That night there was another feast, smaller than before, but warmer somehow, more intimate. Nayland and I slipped away early, walked to the creek where she'd first taught me to make tortillas, sat on the bank with our feet in the cold water. "Are you happy?" I asked. She thought about it, really thought. "Yes," she said finally. "For the first time in 3 years, I am happy. Not just surviving. Happy." "Me too." She leaned against me. "I am also pregnant." The words hung in the air for a moment. Just a moment. Then they landed. I pulled back, looked at her face. She was smiling, nervous, hopeful. "You're sure?" "I am medicine woman. I am sure." I laughed, couldn't help it. Picked her up and spun her around despite her protests. When I set her down, she was laughing too. "You are happy?" she asked. "Happy? I'm terrified. Overjoyed, scared out of my mind. All of it." "Good. Me too." We sat back down, my hand on her still flat belly. A child, our child, growing there. "I will be better this time," I said quietly. "Better than I was with Lily. I'll be here, present, I promise." "I know," Nayland said, "because I will make sure." She took my hand, held it against her belly. "This child will know both worlds," she said, "Apache and white. Will speak both languages. Will understand both peoples. Will be bridge, like us." "A bridge," I repeated. "I like that." We sat there until the stars came out, until the cold drove us back to our wickiup, until we could curl up together under the firs and dream about the future. A future we were building together, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one small act of courage at a time. It wouldn't be perfect. There would be setbacks, conflicts, days when peace seemed impossible and the old ways of violence seemed easier. But we'd face it together, Nayland and me, two people from different worlds who'd chosen to build a new one. And that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. Winter came to the Chiricahua Mountains like a blessing. Snow fell soft on the high peaks. The creek froze at its edges. The aspens stood bare and silver against blue sky. It was beautiful, harsh, clean. And for the first time in living memory, the Apache in our rancheria weren't running, weren't hiding, weren't waiting for cavalry to descend with sabers and torches. We were just living. Nayland's belly grew slowly through November and into December. She moved with the same grace she always had, but now there was something more. A fullness, not just in her body, but in her spirit. She glowed. Mourning Dove hovered like a mother hen, brought special foods, made tea from herbs I couldn't pronounce, told Nayland to rest, even though Nayland insisted she was perfectly capable of treating patients and gathering firewood and doing everything she'd always done. "You carry my grandchild," Mourning Dove would say. "You rest." "I am pregnant, not dying," Nayland would reply. They'd argue in rapid Apache while I stayed wisely silent. But Nayland did slow down, a little. She let me help more. Let Swift Eagle bring firewood. Let the younger women handle some of the easier medical cases. We spent long evenings in our wickiup, talking, planning, imagining. "If it is a boy," Nayland said one night, "I want to name him after your daughter, Lily. But Apache way. Lily is flower, yes?" "Yes. Tiger lily, orange and beautiful." "Then we call him Tiger. In Apache, it is close to Takoda, but also new, his own name." "And if it's a girl?" She smiled. "Hope. Because that is what she is, what this child is. Hope for better future." "Hope," I repeated. "I like that." December brought the first real test of the peace. 3 settlers got lost in a snowstorm 20 miles east of the rancheria. A man, his wife, their 10-year-old son. They'd been trying to reach Tucson and gotten turned around when the weather hit. One of our scouts found them, half frozen, delirious, near death. He brought them back to the rancheria. Some of the warriors objected. "These are whites. Let them freeze. They would do the same to us." But Red Skywalker disagreed. "We promised peace. We promised to help settlers who are lost. Our word means something." Nalin treated them, warmed them slowly by the fire, gave them hot broth, treated the man's frost-bitten fingers and the boy's snow-blindness. They were terrified at first, waking up surrounded by Apache, expecting death or worse. But Nalin spoke to them in careful English, explained what happened, assured them they were safe. The woman cried, actually cried with relief. "You saved us," she whispered. "Why?" "Because it is right thing," Nalin said simply. "We kept them for 3 days, until the storm passed, and they were strong enough to travel. Then Swift Eagle and 2 warriors escorted them to Tucson. I went along, wanted to see what would happen. When we rode into town, people stared. Apache warriors escorting white settlers, together, peacefully. Marshal Cooper met us in the street, looked at the family, at Swift Eagle, at me. What happened? The man stepped forward. His name was John Davies, farmer from back east, trying to make a new start. "These Apache saved our lives," he said loudly. Loud enough for the growing crowd to hear. "Found us dying in the snow, brought us to their camp, fed us, healed us, asked for nothing in return." He looked at Swift Eagle. "I came west thinking Indians were savages. I was wrong. These are good people, better than many whites I've known." The crowd murmured, some skeptical, some moved. Swift Eagle spoke. His English was still rough, but improving. "We make promise. Peace. We keep promise. This is Apache way." Judge Harrison appeared from the courthouse, listened to Davies tell the story, nodded slowly. "Let it be known," he said to the crowd, "that the Apache of the Chiricahua Mountains kept their word. They showed mercy when they could have shown cruelty. They chose peace when war would have been easier." He looked at Swift Eagle. "Thank you. On behalf of this town, thank you." Swift Eagle nodded, simply, with dignity. We rode back to the rancheria that evening. The story would spread, we all knew it. Word would get out that Apache had saved white settlers, that the peace was real. It wouldn't change everything. There were still people on both sides who wanted war, who profited from conflict, who couldn't let go of old hatreds. But it was another beginning, another small step. Christmas came. It wasn't an Apache holiday, but Father O'Malley visited the rancheria on Christmas Eve, brought small gifts for the children, candy, ribbons, small toys carved from wood. He asked permission to hold a small service, just a prayer, a blessing. Red Skywalker agreed, curious, open. So on Christmas Eve we gathered around a central fire, Apache and one Irish priest. He spoke about a child born in difficult circumstances, about hope in darkness, about light coming into the world. The Apache listened politely. Some understood the parallels. A sacred child, a new beginning. These were concepts that translated across cultures. When O'Malley finished, Red Skywalker stood. "We too have story of sacred child," he said. "Child who will bring 2 peoples together. Child who will speak both languages. Child who will heal old wounds." He looked at Nayland, at me. "That child grows now, in my daughter. And when that child comes, it will be blessing on both peoples." O'Malley smiled, bowed slightly. "Then let us pray together, each in our own way. for that child, for peace, for understanding. We did. Apache prayers and Christian prayers rising together into the winter sky. Different words, same hope. Nayland's hand found mine, squeezed tight. "Our child will know this," she whispered. "Both ways, both worlds. It is good." January brought cold so fierce it hurt to breathe. But inside our wickiup, warmed by fire and furs and each other, we were content. Nayland was 6 months pregnant now, her belly round and firm. The baby kicked constantly, strong kicks, determined. "Like mother," I'd say when I felt them. "Like father," she'd reply, "stubborn." We'd laugh, touch her belly together, wonder. "Boy or girl?" I'd ask. "Does not matter, as long as healthy." "But if you had to guess?" She'd think, feel the pattern of kicks, the way the baby moved. "Girl," she'd say. "Feels like girl. Strong, fierce. Will give us much trouble." "I hope so. World needs fierce women." She'd kiss me. "Yes, it does." On January 15th, everything changed again. A rider came from Tucson, not Marshall Cooper, someone else. Army uniform. Lieutenant's bars. His name was Morrison. Young, maybe 25. Nervous. He asked to speak with Red Skywalker, with me. We met him at the edge of the rancheria. Cautious. Army meant trouble. But Morrison held up his hands, peaceful. "I come with message from Fort Bowie," he said, "from the commanding officer." We waited. He took a deep breath. "The Army has been watching what's happening here, the peace, the cooperation, the way you handled the lost settlers." "And?" Red Skywalker's voice was flat, giving nothing. "And the colonel wants to make it official, a treaty, recognizing your right to these mountains, promising the Army won't pursue you as long as you keep the peace." The words hung in the cold air like something fragile, precious, unbelievable. "Why now?" I asked. "Why after all these years?" Morrison looked uncomfortable. "Honestly, because it's cheaper than war, and because what you're doing here, it's working. The settlers trust you now. The townspeople speak well of you. It's good for everyone." He paused. "Also, there's talk of you in Washington. The Apache who testified against slavers, the white scout who married into the tribe, the peace you're building. It's a good story. Politicians like good stories." "So we are experiment," Red Skywalker said, "to see if Indian can be civilized." Morrison flinched. "I wouldn't put it that way." "But that is truth," Red Skywalker continued. His voice was calm. "We prove we are human. We prove we deserve to live. And maybe, if we are very good, very obedient, we get to keep small piece of our own land." The silence was heavy. Then Red Skywalker smiled, slight, ironic. "I accept," he said, "not because I like terms, but because my people are tired of running, tired of war. We want peace. We want to raise children without fear." He looked at Morrison. "Tell your colonel we agree. But treaty must be written down, must be official, must be witnessed by both sides. We will not accept handshake that can be forgotten." Morrison nodded, relief visible on his face. "I'll make sure it's done right. You have my word." "Word of white soldier is worth little," Red Skywalker said. "But word of Thomas Garrett is worth much." and Judge Harrison, and Marshal Cooper. They must witness. They must sign. "Done," Morrison said. The treaty was signed on January 20th, 1868, in Tucson, in the courthouse, with Judge Harrison presiding, Marshal Cooper witnessing, Doc Mueller present, Father O'Malley blessing it. Red Skywalker represented the Apache, signed his name in careful English letters he'd learned just for this purpose. Colonel Bradley from Fort Bowie represented the Army, signed with a flourish. The terms were simple. The Apache could stay in the Chiricahua Mountains. They wouldn't be pursued or relocated. In exchange, they agreed to peace. No raids, no violence, trade and cooperation with settlers. It wasn't perfect. It didn't address land theft elsewhere, didn't acknowledge the centuries of Apache presence, didn't make whole the broken promises of the past. But it was real, legal, binding. When Red Skywalker finished signing, he looked at me. "You are witness," he said. "You and Nayland. You make this possible." "We just showed them what was already true," I said, "that your people want peace, that they deserve respect." That evening, we celebrated again in the rancheria, but differently this time, quieter, more reflective. We'd won something, not through violence, through persistence, through choosing peace again and again, even when war seemed easier. Nayland sat beside me, 8 months pregnant now, so close to her time. "Our child will be born in peace," she said. "That is a gift beyond measure." What if it doesn't last? What if the treaty breaks? Then we build it again and again, as many times as it takes. She took my hand, placed it on her belly. The baby kicked hard. "This child will know both worlds, will have family in both, will never have to choose between father's people and mother's people, because they are same people now, one people, trying." I kissed her temple. "You're an optimist. I am realist. Peace is hard, requires work every day. But war is harder, costs more, destroys everything." She leaned against me. "I choose hard work of peace over easy destruction of war." So do I. 3 weeks later, on a cold February morning, our daughter was born. The labor was long, difficult. Nalene was strong, but even strength has limits. Mourning Dove attended, and 2 other medicine women. They wouldn't let me in the wickiup. It wasn't Apache way. So I sat outside, listening to Nalene's cries, helpless, terrified. Swift Eagle sat with me, brought me food I couldn't eat, water I couldn't drink. "She is strong," he kept saying. "She will be fine." But what if she's not? What if I lose her? What if I lose them both? "Then you will grieve, and then you will live, because that is what she would want." His bluntness was oddly comforting. Just before dawn, I heard it. A baby's cry. Strong, loud, angry at being born into a cold world. Then silence. Too much silence. I started to stand. Swift Eagle held me back. "Wait," he said. Then Mourning Dove appeared. She was smiling, crying. "Granddaughter," she said. "Strong, perfect. And Nayland is well. Tired, but well." I didn't remember crossing the distance. Just suddenly I was inside, and there was Nayland, pale, exhausted, beautiful, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in soft deerskin. She looked up at me, smiled. "Meet Hope," she said. "Hope Garrett, daughter of two worlds." I knelt beside them, looked at the tiny face, red, wrinkled, eyes squeezed shut against the light. She was perfect. I touched one tiny hand. She gripped my finger with surprising strength. "Hello, Hope," I whispered. "Welcome to the world. We've been waiting for you." Nayland shifted, made room for me beside her on the sleeping furs. I sat, put my arm around them both. This family I'd somehow been given, this miracle. "Thank you," I said to Nayland. "For what?" "For living, for fighting, for giving me this, for giving me everything." She leaned her head on my shoulder. Hope nestled between us. "We give each other everything," she said. "That is what love is." We sat like that as the sun rose, as the rancheria woke, as Morning Dove spread the news, and people gathered outside to celebrate. A new life, born in peace, symbol of hope, bridge between two peoples. Hope Garrett, daughter of Thomas and Nayland, granddaughter of Red Skywalker and Morning Dove, niece to Swift Eagle and the whole Apache Nation. Welcome also to the white world through marriage and treaty. She would grow up speaking Apache and English, would learn medicine from her mother and shooting from her father, would know both Christian prayers and Apache ceremonies, would never have to choose, would always be whole. That was our gift to her, the only gift that mattered. 3 months later, in May, when the aspens were budding green and the creek ran high with snowmelt, Father O'Malley came to baptize Hope. Red Skywalker performed a blessing ceremony the same day. 2 rituals, 2 traditions, 1 child, blessed by both, claimed by both, loved by all. I stood holding my daughter while both men spoke their prayers, felt Nayland's hand in mine, looked around at the faces gathered, Apache, white, mixed, all family now. This was what we'd fought for, this moment, this peace, this possibility. It wouldn't last forever, nothing did. There would be setbacks, the treaty would be tested. There would be people on both sides who chose hate over understanding. But we'd proven it was possible. Peace, cooperation, love across boundaries. And that knowledge, once planted, couldn't be entirely uprooted. That night, after everyone left, after Hope was asleep in her cradleboard, Nayland and I sat outside our wickiup. The stars were bright. The air was warm. Spring was coming. "Do you ever think about that day?" she asked. "The day you found me in the trap?" "All the time." "Do you regret it? Saving me?" I turned to look at her, really look at her. "Never. Not for 1 second. You gave me my life back, gave me a reason to live, gave me love and family and purpose." I paused. I should be asking you, do you regret letting me save you? She smiled, took my hand. "Never. You gave me hope when I had none, taught me to love again, gave me daughter and family and future." She looked up at the stars. "People ask me sometimes if I am angry about Dakota, about the war, about everything we lost. Are you?" "Sometimes, but mostly I am grateful for what I have now, for you, for hope, for peace, however fragile." She looked at me. "You know what I learned, Thomas Garrett?" "What?" that healing is not about forgetting the wound, is about choosing to live despite the scar. I pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. You're wise. I am old woman now. Mother, wife, must be wise. You're 27. Like I said, old. We laughed, soft, comfortable. Inside, Hope made a small sound in her sleep. We both turned, listened, but she settled, quiet again. She will be fine, Nayland said. Strong like her parents, stubborn too. God help us. We sat in silence for a while, comfortable, complete. Then Nayland spoke again, quiet, thoughtful. Tell me true, Thomas. Do you think peace will last? I thought about it, really thought. No, I said finally. Not forever. Maybe not even for long. There are too many people who profit from war. Too much old hatred. Too much fear. She nodded, unsurprised. But, I continued, I think what we've built here, what we've shown is possible, that will last. The memory of it. The knowledge that peace can work if both sides choose it. I looked at her. Our daughter will grow up knowing that. We'll teach it to her children. And maybe, in time, enough people will remember. Enough people will choose peace over war, understanding over hate. Maybe, Nayland agreed, is good maybe, worth fighting for. Worth living for, I corrected. She smiled. Yes, worth living for. We sat until the fire burned low, until the cold drove us inside, until we could curl up together with our daughter between us and sleep the sleep of people who'd found peace, hard-won, precious, real. I never figured saving a life would turn around and save mine, but it did. The woman I found bleeding in a trap became the woman I couldn't live without. The enemy became family. The war became peace. It's not redemption. Sure as hell isn't forgiveness for all the things I did wrong, all the ways I failed before. It's just two broken people too stubborn to quit. Two people who chose each other, who chose hope over despair, who chose to build something new from the wreckage of what was. And it's enough. More than a man like me has any right to. But I'm holding on to it, with both hands, until my last breath. They'll say this story isn't possible, that peace between Apache and white couldn't happen, that love across that divide was forbidden. They'll say I'm romanticizing, making it prettier than it was. Maybe I am. But I was there. I lived it. And I'm telling you, it was real. The woman sleeping beside me is real. The daughter in the cradleboard is real. The peace we built, fragile as it is, that's real too. Will it last? I don't know. But we tried. God knows we tried. And sometimes, trying is enough. Sometimes, it's everything. If you've got stories of your own, ones you carry in the dark, I'd like to hear them. Stories of finding hope when everything seemed lost, of choosing love over hate, of building bridges instead of walls. We're all just trying to find our way, trying to do better, trying to leave something good behind. That's all any of us can do. Until next time, keep your powder dry and your heart open. That's the only way through. The end.